Recently, it seems like Feng Wei has been rocketing through the tier list to become top tier in no time flat, with complaints about his overpowerness spanning his recent changes, but also tools he has had for years. So, what was it that caused Funny Eyebrow Man to be the new high-rank monster?
We have, of course, the legend Knee versus the legend JDPR.
The simple answer is that this was not a sudden change, but rather it was several buffs over a long period of time that went ignored due to not having a purpose in the meta.
Hey, it's not quite that simple. You see, Feng had had eyes on him well before back in Season 1, but somehow had managed to lose them. So going back to Season 1, you'll see that Fangs used to roam the top 3 tournament characters wild and free. But in later seasons, he was an endangered species, only played by loyalists like you, and Harada. So, what happens in Season 2 that caused Fang to disappear so suddenly? This Kenpo got a slight nerf. Okay, that's not fair. We also got
buffs to his counter hits. Forward 3, back turn 3, full launch, partially track side rolls that hit grounded. 2-4-1, a free shoulder on counter hits. Nerf Kenpo, 5 more frames before auto block. Forward 4-3, always minus 14 on block, a safe mid natural combo. Wall bounce, a safe mid bounce. Overall, about the same. A bit weaker.
Okay, so people weren't actually wrong to say that. And let's break down some fundamentals. Backswing blows act as a somewhat high commitment technique. You are supposed to read the range of the opponent's next attack and do the input, causing you to dodge and whiff punish in one go, leaving you wide open on a misread. This is also similar to backdashes in most fighting games, though they have less commitment as they do not force you to go forward. Tekken's backdash in particular is actually really powerful, as it lets you guard the whole way through. So you're only open to an attack if you cancel the dash as something vulnerable. Kenpo was designed to exist halfway between backswing blows and Tekken's backdash. See, it's initially vulnerable in its first few frames, then gets the option to do a blow or a guard from there. So design-wise, it was supposed to be an improved backswing. However, the few vulnerable frames actually proved really difficult to punish, requiring a good read on the opponent's end and rarely netting good damage anyways, i.e. as good as Kenpo's own launches. Instead of improved backswing, they had an improved backdash, which is a rather absurd buff to have. Tekken is a slow defensive game by fighting game standards. Hitting or blocking even quick moves will leave the character stunned longer than equivalent moves in other fighting games. But this also means that whiffs are much more reactable. Even the standard jab takes nearly a half second before the character can block again. This design engenders a meta with a focus around opening and punishing whiffs. Tools useful in all fighting games, but more so in ones based around defense. A meta based around movement, sidesteps, crouching, and of course, backdashes. In fact, players are expected to practice canceling a backdash into another backdash to enter high-level play by the community. Backdash canceling into a better backdash with fast launchers is absurdly strong. Now, the Season 2 nerf to Kenpo is an interesting one because it exemplifies what the team intended for Fang's design. He was not supposed to have one answer to all challenges, but dozens of specialized evasion tools for each challenge and unique aggressive pokes to crack an opponent's armor. But instead, he had a universal tool that was a simple upgrade to an already powerful vital skill, and becoming a stronger backswing is actually a severe nerf, even if that was the original intent. Even so, losing a single tool should not drop a character the way Feng was. But, of course, it wasn't just Feng to disappear. Both Dragunov and Jack would see far less tournament appearances and lower rankings. Were their nerfs that bad? Well, I don't think so either. You see, around the same time, this is also when the new top characters come in. Geese, Akuma, and Devil Jin all start climbing the ranks towards the end of Season 1 and start of Season 2. What this represents is a shift in the meta. Where originally characters with long-range punishes, such as Dragunov and Jack, or Fang's multitude of options to create openings, were seen as less valuable than having massive combo damage. It's more rewarding if you have simpler universal tools that can open up an opponent rather than having highly specialized tools for specific cases. And every character can already backdash or sidestep, so built-in evasive moves or long-range punches can easily be compensated with well-practiced, compact movement. But combo damage is pretty tied to the character, and the difference between having to crack an opponent's armor 2 or 3 times could cost you the match. As the combo damage meta takes over, Feng drops to mid-tier and consensus that he's just the worst Jin, which is true on paper. Jin's higher combo damage, evasive stances, aggressive poking, and ability to defend even more attacks with less tools makes him the obvious choice, but also ignores some unique properties, which is fair, given how specialized some of these can get. Seeing his low rankings in public opinion, Feng would go on to receive many buffs from Bandai Namco. His Season 3 buffs were closely adhered to his original design, making many armor cracks rather big ones. Some changes involve getting more frame advantage with his pokes, but with several damage side grades or even nerfs. There are actually some heavy buffs in this patch. Certain moves that are designed to go under moves do so much earlier, such as about 15 frames or quarter second. All in all, he is trickier, but doesn't do more damage. Basically, they're taking the Feng Wei to put more Feng Wei in their Feng Wei and increase their Feng Wei-ness. Despite many buffs across the board, Feng is seen largely the same way he was in Season 1. Again, sneaky moves just do not compete with damage in the court of public opinion. So, here comes Season 4 with, you guessed it, more buffs. In my mind, this is where he starts to lose his identity. The new combo string is a subtle buff because, it's not just a raw damage upgrade. However, it allows him to convert some launchers that used to give him small combos into his shoulder into full, juicy launches. The real mistake of this patch, in my mind, though, is the upgrade to his stiffened punch parry. In many ways, this serves as the opposite of the Kenpo nerf. Instead of making a tool more punishable and less spammable, it is now more spammable and less punishable, which means you get away with using less of the toolkit. Unlike the Kenpo nerf, the buff is much more effective because of meta practices. See, early on in your Tekken career, you learn to jab check an enemy, as it is the best way to shut down someone who likes to press while they're still at slight minus. Or if you do that now, you are suddenly being carried to the end of the room by a screamy buff boy. While you can beat it simply by not jab checking, like stepping, kicking, using an elbow, whatever, many players will find it hard to undo their condition.
Okay, he's just doing that all the time, and I'm falling for it.
And even if they don't fall for the setups, the few vulnerable frames actually proved really difficult to punish, requiring a good read on the opponent's end and rarely netting combo damage anyways, i.e. one that does as much damage as a punch parry combo.
Oh no, it's so cheap! Just kill me. Go.
Now, we finally get to see Feng's recovering in the wild, but it's too early, and only some have taken notice.
I heard Rip echo from somewhere in the studio. I don't know where he was. Sounded like a ghost. Last round. Here we go.
It all comes down to this. Can Kuiper do it? He was spent 3 weeks in Pakistan. He was at Arslan Ash's house. Is the training going to come in handy here? One more round needed. Oh my god!
My god.
Kuiper with a hop kick. He's going to be taking it to the wall here. No clean walls.
Arslan Ash announces Feng as one of the best characters in the tier list due to his familiar with good Fangs, probably like Kuiper. However, the Feng is still largely endangered, so to those who just saw Feng as mysterious cryptid, thought Arslan was being dramatic. Luckily, Harada-san returns with even more stimulants for the Feng population. Here it is, the big 4.20 patch. Entirely damage buffs. While 2 to 3 more damage may seem insignificant, it is applied to his new Season 4 string, shoulder, and various combo starters. Basically, they spent 3+ seasons increasing Feng's strengths, while barely touching his weaknesses, even nerfing them some, and then just said, I give up, and remove the weakness. Now Feng has the damage of a gimmickless characters while still being made out of gimmicks. Needless to say, they successfully revitalized the Feng species. But, with the overhunting of apex predators, he is now nearing the top of the food chain. And this takes us to where we are now. Feng was considered a mid-tier redundant character, until his design philosophy was compromised for the sake of appealing to the meta. Once he breached that barrier, the changes that had gone ignored compounded with becoming average into becoming very strong at the same time as other top tiers undergo nerfs. The Season 5.00 patch has some promising changes. Increasing the punishability of standing punch parry allows his other moves to be more viable. As of now, Feng Wei is really strong, but with the increase of eyes, he will now likely start to receive more nerfs, just as the other top tiers have. I can only hope that during the process of this, Bandai Namco attempts to retain what made him unique. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this tale of metas versus design, and maybe understand why things seem to become good overnight. Have a good one.
来吧